Think about it. 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 Think about
Let the bass kick.
Think about it. 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 Think about it.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Monday, August 25th, 2025, and we're here this afternoon for a work session with Community Planning, Infrastructure, and Resources. I'm Kristen Stevens, Chair of the Board of County Commissioners. With me are my fellow commissioners, Commissioner John Cafalas and Commissioner Jody Shattuck McNally. We have Lorenda Volker with us, our county manager, and a lot of people in the room, so welcome to everyone who's here. I will turn things over to Leslie Ellis, our Community Planning, Infrastructure, and Resources Director, to kick off our agenda today. And we'll just have people, if you come up to the table, just please introduce yourself and make sure you turn on your mic, but welcome.
All right. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Leslie Ellis, Community Planning, Infrastructure, and Resources Director. And as you've noted, we have a lot of people here today and a rather packed agenda. I'd like to welcome first our guest, Cassie Caldwell, who is here from Housing Colorado, and she's here to share a little bit of information about the new zoning atlas. Some of you, or probably all of you, actually received some information back in July, and Commissioner Cafalas, I know you attended a presentation on this topic already. This project is described as being part of a larger national effort to digitize, demystify, and democratize the county's zoning codes, bringing transparency to the rules that shape what's get built and for whom, and it includes information from across Colorado's jurisdictions. And so it's fairly new. This is information as of July. Cassie has exchanged some information with our team, and Rebecca's provided comments to correct and update some of the information that appears for Larimer County, and that process is happening with other counties and cities across the state too. So I'll turn it over to her to explain more about this, and then there's no action today. This is really just for information to answer questions that you may have and just make you aware of this, and also let you know that we are coordinating and providing our information to make sure it's accurate. So thank you, Cassie.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Cassie Caldwell. I am working as a community outreach coordinator for Housing Colorado to get the word out about this new tool, the Colorado Zoning Atlas. So with that, I'll go ahead and get started on my presentation, and then I will have some time at the end for questions from folks. So the Colorado Zoning Atlas was released earlier this year in May, and like Leslie said, it is a tool to digitize, demystify, and democratize over 33,000 local zoning codes. As of right now, the zoning atlas is 100% complete for the state of Colorado. Only 82% of jurisdictions in Colorado have zoning, so that other 18%, there is no set zoning in those jurisdictions. If you wanted to follow along, you can scan the QR code on the screen, but I will go through how to navigate the atlas as well.
Doesn't look like it's coming up on the screen. You may have to prompt it to project once you change into a new format.
Okay, great. All right, so since we are in the state of Colorado, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in, and then this navigating tool on the left-hand side, you just click down on that. You can click the state, metro area. We'll do Fort Collins, jurisdiction, Larimer County. And then you can see the border of the county. And then so to navigate this to view what and where people can build. There's a couple toggle settings on the side. So for example, you can hit single family home and then scroll down to advanced filters and then click subject to public hearing. And then these colors reflect different zoning codes. If you scroll down on the page, you can see which zoning codes pop up for these specific settings. Another great aspect of the zoning atlas is being able to do snapshots, which is kind of like a point in time reference to how the land is utilized in a given area. So we can do Fort Collins again, just for the sake of consistency. And then once you scroll down, you could see that there are over 500 pages of zoning text have been analyzed, 39 districts have been analyzed, land categories, zoned, protected, and unzoned, as well as residential zoning categories, housing units allowed, lot sizes, ADUs, and then at the bottom you can see, 99% of residential land has a minimum parking requirement. If you want to know more about how the snapshots are created, you can always click this link off to the side, and there's some additional information you can read through as well. So that is just a quick how-to on navigating this. And then we'll go back to... All right. So in May, alongside the publication of the zoning atlas, there was a geographical report published. And some of the key findings of that were that most Colorado jurisdictions have zoning, 82%, like I said before. The land is predominantly zoned for single-family housing. Minimum lot size mandates are widespread across the state. And parking mandates exist on 85% of residential land in the state of Colorado. I know there's been a big push for updates on ADU zoning legislation. So another thing that they found in May was ADUs are often banned, but we are seeing a change in that across different municipalities in the state. So let's talk a little bit about the data gaps of the zoning atlas. So the zoning atlas as of right now is a point-in-time reference for zoning across the state. It is not automatically updated, which is where I come in. I am kind of the point of contact for different municipalities and counties across the state. My role is to inform folks of the zoning atlas and also keep in communication with people from the state, people from different municipalities to get that updated zoning information and pass that along to the zoning atlas team as often as possible. My goal is to reach out every 2 weeks to a month, but if I'm in constant communication with people, they're always welcome to reach out and send that information, and then that will get it passed along immediately. I do also have an official email that I can share with the people as well. And then, as I said before, with the maintenance and updates, right now the team is working on trying to get automatic updates. They're hoping that this will become a more automatic updated system by next summer. So there are some challenges with that, but as I've said before, I think this is a really important tool to create local buy-in for people who don't necessarily have access to or the time to read through hundreds of pages of zoning documents, particularly for community advocates for affordable housing projects or developers. And then we can talk a little bit about the utility of the app. I think in my opinion, I think the best use of this tool as it stands now is for community members and nonprofits and community advocates. I think that, it's a very intense idea to perhaps comb through hundreds of pages of zoning documents, and it's not necessarily effective. So I think this tool could be useful for community members who maybe they want to build an ADU on their property, but they're not too sure how to go about that. This could be the first step for them to see if that's a possibility with the public hearing, as well as nonprofit and community advocates to be able to share zoning information to the average community member in a way that isn't so daunting. Again, I also think it's really important for local governments to know about this tool. I think with zoning updates being as quick as they are, being in constant communication with you folks is important for us to pass that information along to the zoning atlas team to make sure that this tool doesn't become obsolete. Additionally, I think developers will find this tool really useful. I think it could be used for initial planning information and more accessible distribution of information for community members. Specifically, we're seeing a push for community benefit agreements. So I think this could be a really interesting tool for those types of agreements with developers. And then that is my presentation, and I have time for questions if that's okay.
Thank you, Cassie. Any questions for Cassie? Commissioner Cavallis?
I participated in the previous discussion, so I don't have any questions, I guess, other than to ask, how will all of those stakeholders be informed that this tool is out there?
So right now, we are doing outreach. We have sent emails and inquiries to different stakeholders across the private and public sectors over the entire summer. We've reached over 200 stakeholders, whether they be nonprofit organizations or states. So right now it is just a kind of boots on the ground, reaching out to people personally via email, following up if they don't respond within a few weeks, just to see if maybe they missed it or if they're still interested in learning about this tool. So that's kind of my role, is to reach out as much as possible.
Quick follow-up. This will be the last one. I know we have a long agenda. How will you know that folks are using the tool? You can register the hits, or?
So alongside the reaching out to folks, we have developed a survey for people to respond to get a better sense of how they are interacting with the tool. So on my side of things is more of the research. I'm not sure about the Atlas team and how they monitor interaction on that side of things. But for what I do and the work that I'm doing, I'm seeing feedback in the survey and seeing who's using the tool, how are they using the tool, and who they're sharing this tool with.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Well, thank you for sharing this with us. I think this is a really great tool. I think it's a really good reminder of how we can do better and where we, as a communities, and, where we have some gaps, where we don't allow multifamily. I mean, that's, that piece is, to me, problematic, because it's like, not everybody can afford a single-family home, and are we providing enough space for people who need a different form of housing? And so, I think maybe even more important to the cities than the counties, we want the growth to stay sort of near those growth management areas and not to kind of spread out. At the same time, I think it's just a good idea for everybody to look at their zoning codes and see where they are restrictive. We've had this push at the state level, but, and I know a lot of cities and sometimes counties have balked at, kind of a top-down approach. And a lot of it is because there is some resistance to changing your zoning to make it more welcoming to all kinds of people, right? People that can't afford. We can't just build, houses on 2-acre plots and think that we're solving any kind of housing problem. So I just really appreciate the work that you've done, and definitely, I actually, not that I don't normally do this, but I actually texted to a group that I think would be really interested in having this information. We have looked at our code to make it more welcoming and to provide for different styles of houses, but I think that, we as a state and local communities could always do better. So I really appreciate having this tool. I think it's going to be really helpful, and people will kind of go like, oh yeah, why do we do that, right? And sometimes I think we do things because we've always done them a certain way, and we don't necessarily look back and say, does this make sense at this time? So I really appreciate the work.
Yeah, thank you so much. And on behalf of Housing Colorado, I really appreciate you taking the time to let me present this. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, well, we'll be in touch if we have any questions.
Awesome. Thank you.
All
Leslie,
right.
do we have a link to this on our website?
I will send a follow-up email post this meeting to everybody in the room to make sure that they get the email that they need to reach out to if they have zoning information or inquiries, as well as the slides that I presented today, the zoning report that I spoke of earlier, and any other additional information that is necessary. Thank you.
And good afternoon, Rebecca Everett, Community Development Director. We do not have a link to the zoning atlas on the county website yet. We want to make sure that we've fully vetted the information that's shown for Larimer County and that it's an accurate representation of our county. And once we've completed that and worked with the zoning atlas team to make sure it's up to date, then we could see where it might make the most sense or how it might make sense to share that information. Yeah.
Thank you, Rebecca. And thank you, Cassie. All right, we will move on to our second item, Berthoud, Loveland, Windsor, and Johnstown 2024 fire codes. I suppose that's why we have so many wonderful people in uniform today. Yeah, please join us at the table if you'd like to. Welcome to Eric.
Eric Freed, Larimer County Building Official. And we have Carrie Dan, who's the Fire Marshal for Loveland Fire Rescue Authority, and by contract is now the Fire Marshal for Berthoud Fire Protection District. Ty Drage, who's the Fire Marshal for Front Range Fire Rescue Fire Protection District. And a future Fire Marshal from Loveland Fire. I forget your last name, Erica. So the reason we're here, the commissioners are aware of this, but just as a reminder, under state law, in order for a fire code to take effect in a fire district in the unincorporated part of the county, the commissioners have to essentially give their approval to administer the code. We went through this fairly recently with Poudre Fire Authority, where their 24 fire code was approved by you. These fire districts are trying to coordinate and align their amendments, which makes sense since there's a lot of connections there. Carrie Dan is now Fire Marshal for Berthoud and Loveland. Ty used to work for Loveland Fire, I believe. Windsor Severance Fire Protection District is the fourth one with the fire code going through. Carrie and Sandy Friedrichsen is the Fire Marshal. They both work together in Poudre Fire. So I read all four fire codes. I don't think there's anything in there that would cause the commissioners great concern. There's no requirement, for instance, which is often a controversial topic, for every single-family home to have a sprinkler system. It's only required in single-family homes when they're more than 660 feet beyond a dead end where you would only have one access. And if that number seems familiar, that's because it's out of our land use code. So if something was going through development review in our land use code, we would put the same requirement on if it's too far from two accesses to the weed or car sprinkler. And just to remind the commissioners too, most single-family homes do not go to the fire districts for review in any case if they're a meets and bounds parcel or they went through development review and there were no fire requirements. If they'd gone through development review and, for instance, sprinklers were required, then we would refer all those permits to the fire department, having jurisdiction to make sure the sprinkler was accurate, unless we were permitting the sprinklers. So I don't think there's anything in there that should cause any great concern. Fireworks are allowed to the extent allowed under state law. Windsor has some amendments on size of a building before you have to sprinkler it or put in fire containment areas, but those are essentially the same as Poudre Fire, which went through. So I didn't see anything that would unduly concern the commissioners. I didn't prepare a separate report, but if you look in your packet for the consent agenda for the work session tomorrow, for the admin matters meeting tomorrow, all four fire codes are in there. And so I was just here to answer any questions you might have, or if you had specific questions for the fire districts, they're here as well.
Thank you, Eric. Any questions for Eric or the commissioner? Go ahead.
Just an opportunity if any of you folks would like to share something regarding what's before us.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. Can you hear me fine? Is there a little light on your microphone? Okay, so you might want to press that. It's hard to see a bit.
Oh,
Okay.
should have worn my glasses.
That's
Thank you. So our 2024 local amendments, most jurisdictions have local amendments, are virtually the same as the 2021, and which was virtually the same as the 2018. And so very, very similar. They're tried and true. We don't get complaints from people that it's heavy-handed. Most of the time, we feel like our local amendments are just clarifying things that people might have questions about. And then starting about a year ago, Ty and I and Sandra started getting together once a month and going through the code, the changes, the significant changes, the new parts of the code, and then also what we had done for amendments in the past. And so all of our alignments line up between the four, and Berthoud as well. Again, Sandra has a couple different things, but between us, we're almost identical. I think it makes it easier for developers and builders to understand that they don't have to switch back and forth between the different departments and who wants what. So we work, we respond together on emergency calls, and so it just makes sense to have the construction and the code requirements be the same.
Thank you. Any fee increases, kind of? We've seen some other jurisdictions.
That's not handled through the code process, but I was
right.
going to mention to you that Berthoud Fire Protection District did have their meeting on the 12th and did approve the impact fees that we had previously discussed with the board. So those fees were approved. If the board objected or wanted to question it, you have the right to do that, but it seemed like we'd come to agreement with them that those were the
Right.
necessary fees.
Okay. So largely not a lot of big changes and
Go ahead.
which is great.
Yeah, very insignificant changes from, as Carrie said, going back to 2018. Trying to, again, as she said, make it as consistent as possible, not just Loveland and Front Range, since we share jurisdiction with the town of Johnstown, but trying to encompass more territory within the region to make it more consistent, so the code questions are not different from one jurisdiction to the next.
Yeah, and I appreciate that collaboration. I know you guys have a lot of collaboration with mutual aid kind of things, but collaboration in this space I think is really great for developers and people who are, have to look at kind of any changes that might need to be made. It's hard when you have to do different things for different, similar projects in adjoining jurisdictions, and there's different rules. So I think that I appreciate you bearing that in mind as you do your work, because I think that is really important.
And Commissioner, related to fees as well, we have fairly comparable fees. We just finished our latest Nexus study as well, so we'll be coming back to you with our fees. And there's two different ways that you can calculate what the impact fees would be. And our last Nexus study, I believe, was in 2019, and we didn't even fully implement what the recommendations were. So we're going to be coming back, but one of the things we're doing, which is similar to Berthoud, is we're tiering the residential impact fees. So the smaller the home, the less the impact fee is. We're really trying to be mindful of that. And that's one, we would love to have every new house have sprinklers. But again, the cost right now, it's a balancing act, and we're really, we're trying to do our part to make sure that we're holding the line as much as possible on that.
Well, I appreciate that you're conscientious about that, and that, clearly I misspoke because this is not tied to the fees, but thank you for addressing that as well. And, we do understand that costs are costs, and we want you to be able to serve our community, and we know how important that is. But, yeah, smaller square footage, there are multiple reasons to encourage that, right? Not just, that it's easier for you guys to do your job, but, it's just, honestly better for the planet, and, we don't need to, So thank you. I appreciate that. Commissioner Shattuck McNally.
Thank you all for the work on this. It's certainly been a lot to wrestle with, and I really appreciate the collaboration and kind of coordination there. It's really important, I think, for our region, and I think it creates clarity and less confusion, and it's just really wonderful to see all the departments and the collaboration, even with emergency services and emergency medical services. I want to thank you for that, and I want to thank you, I want to say Fire Marshal, but your Battalion Chief Dan, thank you for your service on the WUI Code Board, and thank you, because it was a lot of extra time. I know you guys spent some time in Estes Park, but it was inside, and I just want to thank you for your service. And to all of you, I did know Eric Losh, and I know when one is lost, they're all lost, and I know Mountain View Fire Department is very sad. I did know him early on when he was more involved with Thompson Valley Emergency Services, but I wanted to just express my condolences to you all for his loss. So, thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, we will see that on the consent agenda tomorrow.
Yes, no actions required unless you choose to take it off or someone
Yeah.
takes it off.
I can't imagine that would happen, but, all right, thank you. Well, thank you. Thanks for being here today. We appreciate it. We'll let you get back to your day jobs. So we will move on to the next item, item number 3, public notice updates.
All right. Are you leading this? Are you leading this? Yeah. Okay. All right. Good. We've got a few folks getting situated here, and I'll turn it over to Shalana Lysat here, and she can introduce, or they can introduce themselves for this item. Thank you.
Wonderful. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Shalana Lysat, Business Operations Supervisor in the Planning Division. I'm joined with Ryan Oswald.
Mike. Yeah.
Okay, how about that? Okay, thank you. I'll start over. I'm Shalana Lysat, Business Operations Supervisor in the Planning Division. I'm joined with Ryan Oswandel and Laura Colleton, and we are excited to share some of our process changes that were inspired from our recent land use code updates, our noticing updates. We also want to just give a little shout out to Melissa Brusky. She's not here today, but she was pivotal in helping us through these changes. So we'd like to present our new customer service focused processes. We developed these to comply with the land use code updates that were passed in June. Part of that update changed the requirement from mailing resident postcards to having a sign posted on the property. That change gave us an opportunity to reevaluate our entire public engagement process from a customer service perspective. So our goal was to make it easier for the average person to understand, how they can provide feedback on proposed development in their neighborhood. We designed both a new sign, a new postcard, and a new website. And I will pass it over to Ryan to talk a little bit more about the sign and the postcard, and then Laura will go through our new website.
Thank you, Shalana. Ryan Oswandel, Community Resource Information Technician. One of the prominent features in our new process is the use of QR codes, both on the sign as well as on our postcard. This QR code links to our new website, which provides a gateway to more user-friendly information online, as well as helps with accessibility on these signs. I will let Laura walk you through the website.
Thank you, Ryan. Is this on? Yeah. Okay. Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Laura Colleton, Planner 2. So we created this website as a landing page from both the postcard and the sign. It's also linked on our main planning page so people can navigate there. So essentially, anyone who gets a postcard or a sign can hop onto this website and learn more about the development review process. And we broke it down into 3 steps. The first one being identifying the project that's in your neighborhood. So if you received a postcard, it's going to have the project name and the plan number on it, but a sign on the property will just have the plan number. So you can use that information to search on our CSS portal online. And then we also included information in case you don't know the name of the project or case number. You can always search on the portal using a parcel number or address as well. So then once you identify the project, there's different ways to interact. And we broke it down into different stages. The first being like the neighbor notice stage when people are first interacting. Sorry, I'm like out of breath. So essentially when people log onto the portal, it'll say which noticing stage that they're in. And then the third step would be I'm ready to provide public comment or attend a neighborhood meeting or attend a public hearing. So then we have accordions for each of these, kind of describing the best way to provide public comment, which would be directly through public input. And then if it's in the neighborhood meeting stage, there's information on how neighborhood meetings are scheduled and where you can find that information. And then finally, attending a public hearing, the time and place fully visible on public input, which you can find here. And then we created a separate page, which is linked on here, about what to expect at a public hearing, because we know that sometimes that can be really intimidating for people. And so we went through and described consent and discussion items, and kind of what to expect at these 3 types of hearings. So all in all, we just created this main website page as a way to be more accessible to the public for participating in the development review process, and just to get more input from people, and have people prepared when they show up to the public hearings and neighborhood meetings. Thank you.
Any questions? Did you guys have anything else you wanted to present? Okay. Any questions or comments? Commissioner Shattuck McNally.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you all for this work. It's really important, and I can see you're really thinking about folks who maybe have no idea what this is. And so I think you've experienced that too, of people showing up with lots of questions. So I appreciate that kind of customer service aspect. When you talked about the signs, I know we had talked about the signs and changing those. And certainly they look a little different from, let's say City of Loveland versus City of Fort Collins and what we have. Do you have a picture, or can you just? Oh, sorry, I didn't even see it. There it is. Okay, sorry, I was probably looking at this. Great, so it's a little different color. Awesome. And then the QR code is a nice touch. Okay, great. I thank you. I didn't see that when you held it up, so that looks great, because I know they're yellow and ours is orange. What's his Fort Collins color? Do we know?
Theirs is yellow, I believe.
Yellow, same as Loveland? Okay. All right, cool. So it's a little different. So I appreciate, because I thought that might be important to distinguish between the municipality and the county. So thanks for all your work. It's really well done. Thank you.
Commissioner Kowalski, go ahead.
First of all, thank you very much. I think this is great. Whatever we can do to improve customer service, and certainly the development review process can be complicated at times. So anything we can do to make that more understandable, I think, is just wonderful. So much appreciation for this work. A question I have is, how long has this website been live, and have people been using it regarding, we have some interesting land use hearings this afternoon and this evening. So how long has it been live, and are folks using it?
The website was live on July 14th. And we do know, I don't have the metrics with me for the website analytics, but we do know that people are accessing it because we are getting comments through the public input portal, and they're accessing that through either having the QR code on the sign or the postcard. So the way that that's all channeled through the process, they are hitting this website first.
Great. Thank you, Shalana.
Well, thank you. I think that's fantastic. I really like it. I like demystifying sort of that process, because it is a little complicated, and you probably get a lot of questions, and we even get questions with people who haven't, just saw the sign and come to the meetings. And so I think this is really great work. My question with the QR code, both on the postcard that you showed and the sign, does that bring you right here? Is that where it brings you? So it doesn't bring you to necessarily the actual case that they're, so then they'll navigate down and find their information. Okay, great. No, I just want to thank all 3 of you for the work. I think this is really great. It's a tricky process, and it can be really intimidating to figure out when you're supposed to do this. And we've clearly had people that have shown up and kind of not understood some of the things that we're talking about. So this just builds that knowledge base for those folks, which is really important. So the transparency piece around what we're doing and how to find the projects is really great. So I love that, and I love the QR code, because I think people are pretty, especially after COVID, and pulling up a menu, are pretty familiar with how to do that now. I think my mom can even do that, which is pretty remarkable. So thank you for showing this, and we look forward to, and then, be in touch and let us know if people are accessing it and how well it's going, and if you have to add anything. And do you have like a FAQ kind of section or anything, or I don't know?
We don't, but we wanted to add that this is kind of a work in progress for us.
Sure, yeah.
So we're kind of making tweaks as we notice things that need to be changed.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, I'm sure you don't know the questions till they start coming up, so, but that might not be a bad thing to add, so, cool. Well, thank you. Thanks a lot for being here, Shalina and Ryan, and, okay, thank you all. So our
Thank you
next
all.
item
Great.
is Community Development Director update.
Good afternoon. Again, Rebecca Everett, Community Development Director. I'm going to pass it over to Jenny Axmaker, our Planning Manager, because the bulk of the updates relate to the land use hearings this afternoon.
Good afternoon, Jenny Axbaker, Planning Manager. Just wanted to give you a couple quick updates. We have an afternoon filled with hearings today. I gave each of you a packet of the addendums that go with the hearings for this afternoon. Those are grouped together, and then on the other side of your packet will be the ones for this evening. We've received some additional public comment over the weekend, and we wanted to make sure you had that prior to the hearing. The other thing that I want to make sure you're aware of is we are going to be tabling one of the 3 items for the 6:30 p.m. land use hearing case. It is the right-of-way vacation sponsored by engineering. There is a snafu with some of the notice there. So we will be tabling that item, and we will actually have to table it at the 3 p.m. hearing and the 6:30 p.m. hearing because it was accidentally noticed for the 3 p.m. hearing when it was on the agenda for the 6:30 p.m. hearing, and that will be coming back before you on September 8th. So just wanted to let you know of those couple changes. If you have any questions about the hearings tonight, I'd be happy to answer those. And I think I'd be remiss if I didn't also mention, in addition to the information that staff presented to you on our public notice site, we do have that public input product, which is kind of a second website that goes hand in hand with our new noticing website. You can get to the public input website through that website, and it allows people to make comments on all the cases. Every case that goes to a public hearing now is on that website, and so you should be starting to see those the public comment reports in every packet moving forward.
I was amazed how people found that so easily and then are really using it. You know, that's great. I kind of wondered, like, if it would take people a while, you still get the phone calls and emails, but when we had those in our last packet, I was like, oh, good, people are actually using these tools that you all are working so hard to create, so that's great.
Thank you.
Any questions on the hearings? Go ahead, Commissioner.
I just appreciate, Jenny, that the letter of notice, how it indicated that the partial right-of-way vacation Crystal Lakes would occur this afternoon, so I'm glad you picked up on that.
All right, anything else? Okay.
One more update that I'd like to provide is a follow-up from last week's Planning Commission hearing. So, as you know, you all took action on the Larimer on the Move plan, the Transportation Master Plan, and then the next step in the process is for it to go to the Planning Commission to be formally adopted. Based on some last-minute changes that need to be made to some of the wording in that plan will need to come back to the Board of County Commissioners again, and Planning Commission did not feel comfortable making a final adoption decision until it had been vetted once again through the board. So that will make its way back to you all again for consideration for approval, and then after that point, it will go back to the Planning Commission. I believe September 17th at the September Planning Commission hearing. So that will make it back before you again, and Planning Commission has not yet taken action.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing that, and then we'll pass it back to them. Thank you. Any questions on any of this? Okay. All right, so we'll move on to Leslie with, it looks like it said time permitting. But we have
Yeah,
plenty of
I
time.
didn't think we'd have time, so there's nothing urgent and nothing that I prepared for today, thinking we'd have
Okay.
a full agenda, and I know you have some new reading material for this afternoon, so I'll let you
Right.
get to it.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. So anything else, Leslie or Rebecca, we're all good? Okay. Well then, at 2:10, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.